Episode 1.
Hey, it's Karen Lavery here. This is my first stab at a YouTube video, so bear with me. I might sound a little quirky at times, but my son Nathan is going to help me along here. Anyway, my name's Karen Lavery, and I'm just going to talk about different things, some different challenges that I faced. My son Nathan came up with a really good, I guess it's a slogan, maybe something for my channel. It's called H.O.P.E. Hold on, pain ends. Sorry, I had to remember what it was. Hold on, pain ends. And I love that. I fell in love with that. And that's very true. That's sometimes when you're going through a situation, it feels like it's never going to stop, and the pain's just unbearable. But it is true, and I'm living proof of that. That if you just hold on for the roller coaster ride, basically, the pain ends. Okay, so I'm just going to talk. I'm just all natural. I didn't rehearse anything. I just thought I'd share some of my story. I don't want to take up the whole first video just talking about my story. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about life. And by the way, next time I'll do my hair for this, but it's kind of the holiday season, and I've been a little bit lazy with this beanie that my son bought me for Christmas. So yeah, I do have pretty cool hair, so you'll see that eventually. So anyway, everybody goes through challenges, and mine certainly are minor compared to a lot of situations that I've read about. But I always like to say that things could always be worse. I kind of get through every situation like that. Like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Why is this happening to me? And then I stop myself and say, things could always be worse, because they can. Through a couple of years, about 3 years, I guess, of just roller coaster, crazy things happening to myself and my family. I've always stopped and looked around me and thought, these are some weird times, crazy times, why things keep piling up on us like this, and how are we going to get, through this? But again, looking around, there's a lot worse situations out there, and we, certainly weren't in anything like that. Through everything, we've always had our health, and, that's huge. That's something that, once you, get off track with that, that's hard to get back. So I can honestly say, besides some little minor things there, we've always been fortunate. So we've been able to get through a lot of other things because our health was always there on our side. They say God doesn't give you more than you can handle, and I believe that. I used to, always say that he really pushed my limits, and he did, but I still had my faith, and, I still, I can't blame God for some of the things that happened. I've always had my faith, like I said, and I believe that's what got me through a lot of things. But just, I could go on and on and on about stuff like that. But, basically, and I don't want to tell my whole life story in one video. But, the primary reason for this video is my son thought it would be kind of good to get my story out there. Now that I'm ready to talk about kind of the big dinger that happened to me last year. But there's a lot leading up to that. But basically, the idea behind these videos is to just kind of share my story about my transgender daughter. That's I'm not the only one that is going through that. 5 years ago, it just wasn't as prevalent or heard of. Here lately, it is. But as a parent, a family, it's something really tough to go through. People are aware, people are a little more accepting and understandable these days. But as a mother, it's a challenge, and has been a challenge. So that's kind of what I want to talk about in a lot of my videos. But just kind of leading up to that, I have wonderful family, wonderful friends, great support system. And, my friends tell me constantly I'm like the strongest person they know, and how did I get through some of these things? And they look up to me, and I, and that's wonderful stuff. And I couldn't have got through it without my friends, to be honest with you. But that's kind of how they look at me. But I don't like to feel that way, because you just do what you have to do, and you get through things. Divorced single mom. I've been divorced about 8 years. I've always been a hardworking woman. Grew up in a small town, hardworking parents, coal miner's daughter. All of that. Life was good. I had my sweet little Italian family, my Italian grandmother. I couldn't have had it any better, honestly. Great childhood. So I met a man in my 20s who I thought was the love of my life, and we get married and 2 kids. 16 years later, we're divorcing. And I'm certainly not going to get into all that. There's plenty of people out there that have been through divorces and certainly understand what that's like. And, that's not easy. We will just stop that right there. So, again, fast forward 16 years. Here I find myself going through a divorce. My children are 10 and 14 at the time. And, it like I said before, it comes with its challenges. This isn't a conversation about divorce. But it really did change our lives in so many ways. And I think the thing that people don't realize about divorce is, before I went through my divorce, I would always go, oh, how sad. It's so sad to hear that they're going through a divorce, the poor family, the poor kids, it's terrible. But never really understood the effect that it has on a family. I definitely made me stronger, maybe a completely different person, but I think a better person. But here I am with 2 boys, 10 and 14. All of a sudden we're, a decent 2-income family to 1, and, fortunate that I did have a good job and could take care of my kids. And so anyway, we go through those challenges. My 10-year-old, we definitely wanted to shelter him as much as we could from what was happening. My 14-year-old certainly knew what was going on. They were right by my side. There was a time when my 14-year-old decided, that was Ryan, decided he was going to go and move in with his dad, and he didn't want anything to do with me. And that was probably the worst thing of the whole thing. A couple months later, he was back. The grass was definitely not greener on the other side. He found that out real quick. So so then we start some challenges. The biggest thing that I could say that was the hardest thing was the financial problems that we developed. I didn't get child support. A little bit here and there, but not really much, which, again, was okay. I had a good job. I could support myself and my kids. But again, we went from 2 incomes to 1. So a few years after the divorce, again, we're on this roller coaster ride. Things got okay for a while. After about 1.5 years, I met somebody. We started dating for a couple of years. Families blended well. Things were good. That ended, and then things got really crazy. I lost a job that I had for 26 years. I thought I'd retire from, making great money there. All of a sudden, and this isn't a video about that, but things a little bit beyond my control, I guess. Things just got real ugly where I was at. Bottom line is I lose a job of 26 years. So here I am for the first time in my life with no job. And that's a scary feeling. 2 children, that depended on me, and, but I knew I couldn't let them down. So I picked myself right back up the day after I lost my job. I pounded the pavement, and about a week later, I had another job. Started doing some teaching. By the way, I do, I'm in the medical field, mostly on the admin side. I've done coding and billing and management and all that fun stuff. So again, I was without a job just for about a week or so. So I started teaching medical billing and coding in a place a little bit farther away than I was used to working. But, like I said, I had a job really quickly. But then the job I really wanted came in August, so a couple of months after I lost my job. But, in the beginning, it was like, okay, we had some adjustments to make. My youngest son, Nathan, was in a private school, so, we had to make some adjustments there for the next school year to get ready for public school. We did what we had to do. So then I start working, but again, my income went way down. So that's kind of what happened, over the course of the next year. It was more like 2 years. So, we kind of bounced back from the divorce, and then this happens. So, we like anybody else, we go through some trying times. But the bottom line is we had a roof over our heads. We always had food on the table. It might have been ramen and hot dogs some nights, but we had food on the table. I had family and friends, and so we had what we needed and then some. And when you count family and friends, into the picture, then, that's worth a lot more than a lot of things. So there we go, the usual challenges of having kids and adjusting to new schools and different things like that. Then, like I said, the financial, I was working hard. I started the one job that I picked up a second job teaching in the evenings, and when I got the job that I really wanted in August, continued to teach, a couple of evenings a week. So pretty much since the divorce, I've always worked 2 jobs. It's just, made it just a little bit easier. And, honestly, many times it was an absolute necessity. So, I did what I had to do. So worked hard. So we're moving along, like I said, struggling financially, to get ourselves back, to where we were at. Actually, not even to where we were at, just get ourselves, to where things were okay. But, and this isn't atypical of any single mom. I mean, we all struggle with, keeping the lights on sometimes, or, finding some help, paying some bills and electric and utilities. And so we kind of struggled with that, rob Peter to pay Paul, what am I going to pay this pay? What am I going to let go? Maybe I can let that go to the end of the month. And so, by doing that, it's not the greatest way to live, but you do what you have to do. So I don't want to get into everything, but I do want to share some of the things that happened to us, over those next couple of years. And then, like I said, then it all came to an end with the announcement of my daughter, my daughter who used to be my son, Ryan, coming out as transgender. So that's kind of what I want to focus on. But there is a lot in between that I want to share with you. And again, I don't want anything out of this, just to share my story. My son felt like I had a lot to share and talk about. And, there's a lot of people that are in these situations. And like I said, after years of it, we're in a good spot right now. But I do want to share with, things that happened in those few years that got us to where we are today. So tune in for my next video, and I will get more into that. And then again, as we move forward, I want to share my story about my daughter. So thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.